Welcome to the Travel with Meaning podcast, the show that talks with artists, entertainers, entrepreneurs, chefs, CEOs, athletes, and travel industry experts to hear the travel stories that have impacted their lives and careers. We visit destinations to talk with the locals and bring the Travel with Meaning community with us to share our experiences with all of you. I'm your host, Mike Scheibel. Join us on this epic adventure. Chef, so good to have you. Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here. Nice to meet you.
So I am really curious about so many things about you.
Okay.
In a beautiful way. I know you call Maui and Hawaiʻi home. When did you touch down in Hawaii that very first time?
First time I was newly hired as the culinary producer for Top Chef, and we filmed our finale at the Hilton Waikoloa on Big Island. And that was my first real venture out running the show as the culinary producer by myself. And it was so interesting because we were like trapped at the Hilton, which is a gorgeous property. But, I had to build this like outdoor kitchen on their Grand Plaza, and like literally the actual kitchen in the hotel was like a quarter mile, half mile. I like lost 9 pounds in one day.
So you got to Hawaii the very first time was through Top Chef and
through Top Chef,
through the TV stuff, which we're going to get to. But I'm more fascinated with, so you went there for a work thing, but did it have that effect on you that you're like, I must come back? I need to come back when I'm not working.
I've always had family in Hawaii. And so after the finale, I flew over to Oahu and I reconnected with my family. That was the last time I had seen my Hawaii family, was when I was 23. Being able to go there as an adult and just reconnect with them and be invited back, I was like, yeah, this place is cool. I love Hawaii. So it was great.
How many times did you go back even before you moved?
I was in LA. I was spending a lot of time in Los Angeles. I was kind of getting like antsy about New York. I had done so much traveling. I worked with the production of Top Chef for like 4 years, and that kept me living out of a suitcase for the most part. 2009, maybe, I left French Culinary and I quit Top Chef at the same time. We had basically won the Emmy for season 6, and I had started like injuring myself because that was like moving every day of your life. I called it build, destroy. That was what I did as the culinary producer. I'd build these like grand sets and then have to break them down, and every day we're moving the kitchen in and out because we had, it's a shot on set and then on location. And so I got into Top Chef to do TV and be on TV and like focus on my career. And suddenly I was just busy making television for Bravo. And so I decided to leave and focus on like becoming on-camera talent. And so I did some work with one of my favorite people on the planet, Irene Wong. So she Cooking Channel started, and she's like, I have this show I think you might be perfect for. And she's like, it's called Unique Eats. I did 6 seasons of Unique Eats, and that was amazing because, again, I suddenly was like living my dream job where I was traveling all over the country and like eating and then talking about it on camera. And I remember like being in New York, like living in a 200 square foot apartment in Times Square with like a futon mattress and like a 13-inch box TV on the floor. And I got like basic channels. And then by some miracle, I got Food Network. And I would obsess like watching Dining Out with Alan Richman and Nina Griscom. I'm like, what a cool job just to go out and eat and talk about it, And then suddenly I was like living my dream. And that was super cool. And I went to Jelena and I was like, on Abbot Kinney, sitting at like the communal table in front by myself, and these 3 like local dudes come in, and I'm eating like a salad and a pizza, right? And this guy next to me is just like, what'd you get? He's like, what do you think I should get? I was like, oh, I don't know. The BLT looked really good. He's like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And so he gets the BLT comes, and he's like, slides it over to me. He's like, here, take a bite. I was like, oh, no, I'm good. I have food, And he's just like, no, you wanted to try. Here, take a bite. And I was like, okay. And like go in with my fork and knife. He's like, pick it up and eat it. It's a sandwich. I just like looked at him. I was like, we're going to be friends. And his name was Sven. And subsequently we exchanged information, and he's like, hey, when you come back, like look me up. And my mom was living in LA. And so I was on my way to Japan. I was stopping in LA, and I reached out to him, and we hung out, and we ended up throwing a party. I like basically we became friends like immediately, and we started throwing these incredible parties at his place. He took over this old auto shop on off of Abbot Kinney on Zeno Place. And yeah, so every time I go to LA, I would stay with him, right? He would always have other people cruising through too. And so this guy, Mike, his buddy from Hawaii, was cruising through. Mike was like sleeping upstairs in the loft. I was downstairs on the couch. Mike like ran a jet ski rescue surfboard training company on the North Shore of Oahu. So Mike's like, next time you're on Oahu, come up to my place and say hello. And I was like, okay, and so I became friends with Mike. And so every time I would come to Hawaii to visit my family, I remember the one trip I was with 2 friends, and we drove up to the North Shore, and we stayed like 2 nights with Mike. And Mike's like, you should just stay. Just stay the rest of the weekend. And I was like, all right, and I like called American. I was like, what if I change my flight to Tuesday? And they're like, that'll be a $900 refund. I'm like, oh, I'm definitely staying. So my friends left the next morning. They drove to go fly back to New York. And that next morning I like woke up and I was like, I like it here. I like it here. And literally, I hear this like deep voice from inside Mike's house, and like this random hot dude's in there, and like we meet and we end up like hanging out and we end up dating. And that's how I started this long distance relationship with this guy who worked for Mike. It's this really crazy thread, right? And he was like a quail goat farmer and like surfed and did all this other stuff. And yeah, and that's how I got to Hawaii. I needed an excuse to like basically date this like dream guy on the North Shore. And I was traveling to Hawaii maybe every 6 weeks for like almost a year. And then I was like, I need a job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Travelers,
crazy.
you hear that? That is literally the most beautiful, unexpected kind of journey. I love the thread and just kind of no understanding of this and how you were there for Top Chef and then you allowed it to happen.
Yeah, I think we manifest these things, where it's like, I call it the call of the Aloha. And I will always be New Yorker at heart. I will always be an East Coast girl, but I love Hawaii, and I love the fact that I have family there and I love the community. We live in the most beautiful place on the planet. Like any community, it's not perfect, but there's so much history to move there and be welcomed with open arms as a chef and as a business owner and as just somebody living there was amazing. So I was embraced by the community. I was embraced by my family. It was really, really lovely.
I think it's just such a beautiful conversation. I mean, you talk about being embraced by the community, but you also put yourself forward, for bringing your talents and your skills and opening your restaurant.
When I moved to Hawaii, there was a part of me that was ready to just like put down living out of a suitcase.
I want to go backwards if we don't mind.
Sure.
You grew up in New York. You've mentioned in reference a couple times, a New Yorker, right?
Yeah. Well, upstate New York, but yeah.
I get it. You're New Yorkers. I'm married to a New Yorker. I get it. We love you people. Trust me. But I want to know about you before, and we're going to get to TV stuff. Mm-hmm. Did you travel as a family growing up? What were your travels? Tell me about your travels as a kid.
My mother is born and raised in the Philippines. She's Chinese, but she immigrated to America by herself when she was like 22. And she met my dad. She worked at the local hospital with my grandmother. Grandma brought her home for pancakes because she wanted to get rid of my dad. And I think because my mom, she was an incredible like self-taught cook, and she obsessed over watching cooking shows. So I would come home from school and Jacques Pepin and Jacques and Julia would be on TV, or Martin Yan would be on TV, or Graham Norton or something like that. But they made sure we were well-traveled, and she discovered a love of cooking and food. So she would like take us down to like German festival at like Wyndham Ski Mountain or like one of the local, because we grew up in upstate New York. So there was always like some sort of food festival. She took us to, we went to Amish country a bunch of times. I thought that was so much fun, like Lancaster County. We went to California often. We went to Florida, but like she was always trying to feed us. and like expand our tastes. And what's interesting is like I very much grew up like I love SpaghettiOs and mac and cheese, and I thought like jalapeno poppers were like the next coming of Jesus. Like it was, I grew up like every other kid in my neighborhood, and I didn't actually get into food until I moved to New York City right after high school.
You know, it's funny when you start talking about there was always cooking shows on TV, and then maybe fast forward a little bit, you are on literally the smash hit and Top Chef from the beginning. And so it's funny, one of those things you kind of look back now, it's like, oh, those seeds were sort of planted.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot, I think, when I told because I went to FIT for fashion design, I majored in fashion design, and I've always worked in restaurants since I was 15. So when I told my parents that I wanted to cook, my mom was like really upset. I thought she would be more encouraging, and she was not at the time. And she's like, she used to rag on me for being a bartender. She's like, oh, what are you going to do with your life but bartend? I was like, hey, I make a lot of money bartending, And I remember when I switched to like an $8 an hour job as a cook at Aquavit. It was my first job in a kitchen, and I was getting paid $8 an hour because I was still in school. She's like, why don't you go back to being a bartender? I was like, hindsight's 2020, Mom. So yeah, but I've always had this relationship with food in the sense that I've worked in restaurants. It's all I've ever known. And so, fast forward, I just turned 47 2 days ago.
Yeah. Happy birthday, Chef.
Thank you. But I'm an advocate for restaurant workers because I've spent a lifetime doing this. And, I'm working with University of Hawaii Maui College with their culinary arts program. So I'm doing some like recruiting for them part-time. And that's just been awesome to be able to stay connected with the college. I'm coordinating with Southern Smoke Foundation and UH and trying to set up mental health program for restaurant workers in the county.
I really want to commend you, acknowledge you for all these. It's like, look, there's the TV side, there's the restaurant side, there's the book.
Yeah.
But the thing that really, I think, stands out to you is the people and the community, right? As travelers, we know it's not where you go, it's who you meet along the way. Mm-hmm. And the mental health and wellness that you talk about, and I've read even that you talk a lot about in hospitality restaurants. I spent years working in restaurants. I get it. And I just think it means so much to people who've been there and experienced it that we definitely have to touch and just say, acknowledge you for that. We talk a lot in Travel with Meaning about travel being transformational and these moments and times and spaces and conversations that change us. Were there other kind of transformational moments that you felt were like, wow, this is where I need to be and I want to share this with other people? Yeah.
So that first trip after I shot the finale, I went over to Oahu and I stayed with my cousins. I was going to cook for everybody. So this was at a time when anybody could just walk into the fish auction, just pre-pandemic. You could go down to the Honolulu fish auction. It's one of the 2 fish auctions in the country. I've never been to a live fish auction before. I remember just standing there with my cousin Carol, and it's like 5 a.m. and it's like a bunch of guys who were clearly in the middle of going up and down the aisles bidding on fish. Like this uncle looks over at me. He goes, "Hey, you." He was like, "Where you from?" And I was like, "Oh, hi, I'm a chef from New York. I would like to buy some fish today." And everyone's like, "Oh, chef from New York." And, this gentleman was actually the manager of the fish auction. His name was Brooks Takanaka. And he is like my Hanai father now. Him and his wife, Cynthia, are like my parents. And he just took me under his wing from that first day and taught me everything to know about fish and fish buying and the boats and the seafood and literally everything I need to know about the Hawaiian seafood industry. So it was this real synergy. And when I finally moved to Honolulu, it was something that I would take my crew down there all the time. And that was another moment in Hawaii that I was like, I love it here.
That's an amazing story. It's interesting also, I think, you do have this lens as a chef and the importance of the food, but the food custody and the importance of knowing where your food comes from and supporting local, supporting, providers and producers. And you can start to see that through line coming in. I know that's very important to you now.
Hawaii is a state that imports over 95% of its food supply. And I think it is a constant struggle to figure out how to be self-sustaining, how to have food security. Like Oahu was never meant to hold 1 million people. What was nice about Maui, I think one of the things that attracted me to Maui was when I was visiting a few years in after I had moved to Oahu, I went up to the Saturday Kula Farmers Market and I was just blown away. Because, the Oahu markets are nice, but Oahu is a very different island with a different climate. And when you go to the upcountry farmers market in Kula or the Wednesday market up in Makawao, the elevation, just what grows on Maui and like Big Island, for example, because of the changes in elevation. We have stone fruit, we have blueberries, we have rhubarb, we have all these things that I was like missing on Oahu. And so when I opened Papa Aina in the Pioneer Inn, which was the oldest hotel in the state of Hawaii, I took over a menu that was like, everything was processed. Like gravy was like powder out of a bag, pancake mix was pre-made, like the whole nine. So I went as local as possible. I'd say we're a hyper-local restaurant. 99% of my produce was local. 100% when I got garlic from Jerry at Kupa'a Farms.
This just, resonates to the core of who you are, right? And believing and loving that.
There's subtle ways to educate and spread your mission through your food, obviously. Our mission is to support our community, support local, keep the commerce in state, and really help build my neighborhood, help build my community up. Being forced to go all local is a great thing. It's challenges you as a chef.
We know about the devastating fires that happened in 2023. You also moved into action and helped cook thousands of meals for a community, for people.
I technically didn't pick up the stove until like maybe 2 weeks in because I was like, everyone's like, oh, you're cooking. I was like, I am coordinating donations. I am doing press and PR for everything. But I could not cook for 2 weeks. I didn't cook at home. I was there doing relief and just basically trying to get donations, coordinate things being shipped in from other islands. I was visiting all the shelters. I was actually buying food. So me and Jen Karaja, who's the director of Common Ground Collective Maui, we were literally going to like Cisco, Costco, to farms, just filling truckloads of stuff to bring back to the college so they could cook and make. Started out 3,000 meals a day, ended up 10,000 meals a day. It was a lot. And what was amazing was to see everybody from the community just gather at the kitchen and just make that happen. The Maui community, whether they were a cook or not, to see that kind of action by our own community when there were obviously some issues getting with the recovery effort from the governmental side in those first few days. And so it was amazing to see how everybody mobilized to make sure. I didn't have time to think, It was like the restaurant burned down and suddenly I had people at my house. They're like, you got to be at the college tomorrow, and I'm like, I'm still trying to find my employees.
There had to be a time where you said there was action things where it kind of all hit you and things, and there's a lot. That's a lot to take on.
I ignored my own trauma for months, and I think I got to see there were a lot of positive things I got to see that were very heartening and to give. I think hope is like a really fragile thing, Sorry, I'm going to cry.
No, it's okay.
It's hard to see my community suffer. It is hard to see. It's going to be a very, very long journey and long road for Maui. The devastating part about it is, understanding the duration and how long that recovery is going to be. And so what can I do in the meantime to help my community, How as travelers can we have that understanding so they can support the community, but also do it in a respectful way? We are looking for empathetic conscious of what has happened in our community. Travelers who understand that this whole community is still grieving. It's the people that they interact with might not have a home anymore, or might have lost a loved one. And they still have to come and make sure that, they come to work every day to provide that sense of aloha and make sure that visitors are having the best vacation ever. We want travelers to come here and just, enjoy Maui. Maui's beautiful. And honestly, Maui isn't just the west side. There's upcountry, there's East Maui, there's South Maui, Central Maui. There's so many beautiful, beautiful places to explore and discover on the island that don't just involve laying on the beach on the west side, which is, yes, a great activity, but I always say when you come to Hawaii, engage. And that's really it, is don't just stay at your hotel or stay by the pool. Go out, go eat at a food truck, get to know, see the community, connect with the community. And I think that's really important, is just to come with an open mind and understand that people aren't here just to serve you. These are the people who live here and work here and have just been through a really, really traumatic experience. So as a traveler, you should always look up where you're going, what the customs are, if there's any pertinent information, and be a smart traveler. There are wonderful volunteer opportunities across the islands. You can get yourself set up with that by planning ahead of time, I think, and reaching out to the community before you even get on a plane. It's not one of those situations where you just show up and be like, okay, I'm going to go volunteer somewhere. Do your research, figure out, connect, don't just show up at a soup kitchen and be like, I'm here to help. There has to be, I think, just this symbiosis, there has to, and again, I love this community. I think that, I'm not from Hawaii. People are like, oh, did you go to Punahou or Iolani? I was like, I'm from New York. But I was welcomed with open arms, and that's how it happens. A lot of people who come to live in Hawaii visit, and they feel that call of aloha, and they feel that sense of community, and so they move. And that's always the point, and we want to encourage travelers to come visit our beautiful islands and discover all the wonderful things about it. And it's not just about beautiful beaches.
I have to bring up this, Top Chef show. And how did this come together? And how did you end up on this show?
My immediate manager, I was working at the French Culinary Institute at the time. I was running the events and continuing ed. And my manager was good friends with Andrea Immer, who was our Dean of Wine Studies. And she had her own show on Fine Living Network. And so my manager, Cindy, she was on the West Coast filming with Andrea when she met the casting producer from Randy Bernstein. Basically, she met Randy, and he was like, hey, we got this new show going for Bravo. It's going to be a reality competition series for cooks and chefs. We're thinking about calling it Top Chef. Do you know anybody who'd be good for it? And Cindy was just like, got Lee Anne. She's like our demo chef or performer chef. And so she put me on a phone call with him. I had a great phone call with him. He asked me to film a video. So I filmed a video, sent it to him on a CD, right? We filmed a video in the amphitheater, and they sent it, and I was in the tall hat, and I flambéed something. It was super cheesy, and I was in. And that first season, I think there were 12 of us. And it was everything from professional cooks to home cooks to private chefs to culinary students. And so this was, in those early seasons, Bravo was casting for reality because that's what they knew how to do. They were just coming off the success of Project Runway. And really the competition genre hadn't exploded yet. I think Ready, Set, Cook and Japanese Iron Chef were the extent of cooking competitions on television. So when Top Chef happened, we didn't know if it would be a success.
You did mention you were still in season 1 when you went to Vegas, and you started to, this is pre-social media, people. So it's not like everyone was real timing everything. So there was appointment television. People were watching things.
Yeah.
And you could feel that this thing was sort of happening towards the end of the season.
That was wild. Yeah, it was wild. We were running around Mandalay Bay. I was with Steven Asperino and Miguel. And we weren't under sequestered because we weren't competing. I remember running around Mandalay Bay and like people from like across the hallway spotted me. They're like, Miguel, Steve, and Lee Anne. They're like screaming. They're like, we love you guys. And we were just like, whoa. And it was a very, very bizarre thing because it's like, it's reality TV, right? So we were just like catapulted into this like, media limelight all of a sudden.
And nobody knew what it was going to be. And
nope.
From that time, the explosion of Food Network, Bravo shows, all of that. And you were there really in the early side of it. I want to make sure, so we are here in Healdsburg at the Healdsburg Wine and Food Experience.
Yes.
A lot of incredible chefs here as well that you've built wonderful relationships over the years. And one thing I mentioned to you earlier that I do love is that camaraderie, especially through a lot of the female chefs. And then also we have to mention Guy Fieri.
Yeah.
Who's done a lot for Maui as well.
Guy has done so much for this community in particular, obviously through the Paradise Fires and everything. And he has his foundation, Guy Fieri Foundation. And we were here filming TOC last October, and it was like just after the fires, and I was competing, and Guy and his team we all put together a fundraiser. All the chefs and judges that were here filming TOC all participated. We had over 30 chefs for this one night only, like once in a lifetime. It was just this like so much food. There was so much food. I don't know how anybody actually made it through dinner. We raised over $1.6 million for the community, which were distributed as cash cards through the Hawaii Restaurant Association and American Savings Bank. And it was just amazing to be able to hand my team, my former employees, just something that I knew would help them get through the week. I tell people, I was like, the money buys people time and it buys them a little bit of security. And like, it's so important that we keep giving our community hope. And they know that there are other people out there in the world that still care and haven't forgotten about Maui.
And I can see that with the chefs. And you know,
that's what we do. We feed.
Yeah.
We feed and we take care.
Together.
Like the restaurant community is incredible. The hospitality community in general, hotels, beverage, everything. Because when there's good times, we're there, right? We're the focus. Food and wine bring everybody together, right? It's the fabric
it's a universal language.
Yeah, it's the fabric of our social lives, right? Is this connection with food and each other. When there's times of need, we're there as well, you know? And so the restaurant community, the hospitality community, we know how to take care of our own. And we know how to mobilize. And I think that's really it, is that we've always been involved, you know, with all these food and wine festivals, charity fundraisers, et cetera, et cetera. What's always the focal point? Food, right? So we're the center of that. And so we know how to be there for good times. We know how to be there in times of need. And ultimately, the whole community sprung into action.
I love the camaraderie, especially from these incredible, powerful female chefs. And I think you are also just paving the way for young ladies to look up to and have that, you know, sense of, I can do this as well.
I hope
Not necessarily be on TV if that's what they want. Cool. But just, you know, step up and cook and give back to the community that way is important.
I tell people, you know, people who are interested in going to culinary school or a career in food, I say, do it. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Yeah. There's no fast path to success. And I remember when I was executive chef at French Culinary, after the show had aired, I would get students that would come into me and be like, so how do I get on the show? And I'm like, you're still in culinary school. Don't worry about it. Like, you've got all your life to worry about TV. Focus on your education and building your foundation now. I've been doing TV now for over 20 years. And it's the same thing. When I made a very conscious decision to like move to Hawaii and leave my TV career behind. And I remember I had a bad breakup with my manager and he's like, you're tanking your career. And I was like, listen, I'm going to get a life. And if TV wants me, it'll come back around. Yeah. Like, that's how I feel. And that's kind of it. It's like, it comes and it goes. It's always here. But it's been such a wonderful career to be able to meet Stephanie, Manit, Amanda through connecting through TV or connecting through food and wine festivals. And suddenly, you know, it was like before all this TV, I would cook at food and wine festivals. And then suddenly, I'm on this TV show and I'm competing against all my friends. And like, I mean, it's fun because we're more mature now and we don't feel like there's anything at stake for the most part. We all have evolved and grown up. We have careers and families and restaurants. And it's kind of this interesting golden age for like food television. To be able to talk to these ladies and they've been through what I'm going through, it's been helpful. It's been, I cannot even explain just knowing that life will continue and I'll get past this.
It's good to have community. It's good to have people you can lean on for that.
It is. And just to give me hope, because I think sometimes that's, again, hope's a fragile thing. And like to be lifted up by these other women chefs is like so incredible.
I have to ask about dumplings all day Wong.
Yes.
Because I am just a dumpling kind of guy. I mean, I guess you look at me, you think he's a dumpling. Tell me about this book, because I think I read somewhere where you're like making dumplings is meditation for you.
Yes. So
I've got the book. I've checked out, my wife and I have made dumplings together, not from the book yet. I don't know. Tell people about Dumpling All Day Wong. Tell them.
So I did this special with Irene Wong. It was called Food Crawl with Lee Anne Wong. It was like a 1-hour special for a cooking channel. And I went to all these different restaurants around New York City and had dumpling and noodle dishes. And so the publisher had reached out to me, Page Street Publishing, and they're a fairly new company. And they said, we'd love to do a dumpling book with you. And I was like, dumpling? What kind of dumplings? There's dumplings in every culture, right? And so I decided, I was like, okay, let's focus on Asian dumplings. And so I remember making suggestions for the title, and Dumplings All Day Wong was like one of the first suggestions I gave them. And
it's so good.
But they just kept coming back at me with like, oh, we should call it the New Dumpling Cookbook or the Fun Dumpling Cookbook. I'm like, that's a terrible name. It says nothing about me. And then like, I remember like a month later, I was like, I just sent it again. Dumplings All Day Wong. And it was like they had never seen it before.
They're like, it's brilliant. Where have you been? You're like, really?
I'm like, I can make that joke because I'm the Wong, right? And the name stuck. And I was like, we're going to make this like a Dumplings for Dummies cookbook. And it's a soft cover book. It's meant to get beat up and dog tagged and get used in the kitchen and get flour all over it. And it's got a low cover price. So if you wreck it, you can just buy another one.
Yeah, travelers, I totally encourage you. If you've ever ordered a dumpling out of the restaurant, you love dumplings, check out Dumplings All Day Wong. What does travel mean to you?
Travel is a way to see the world and connect with people and see the world through their eyes.
Chef Lee Anne Wong, what a pleasure and honor. I really I love what you're about. I think you just have such good vibes and you really just are an essence of this Aloha spirit. So we're going to remind everyone, make sure you go to gohawaiʻi.com. Definitely go back to the islands. Go back to Maui. They would love to welcome you.
Yeah.
And Aloha. But Chef,
come visit us.
We're not going to finish just yet. We're going to play a speed round of questions.
Okay.
This is Hawaiian style.
All right.
We're going to put 60 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
Starting now. Window or aisle?
Aisle.
Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Sunrise, sunset?
Sunrise.
Pineapple, coconut?
Coconut.
Shaved ice, macadamia nut?
Macadamia nuts.
Scuba dive, snorkel?
Snorkel.
Food truck, farmer's market?
Farmer's market.
Surf or boogie board?
Boogie board.
Wine or Mai Tai?
Wine.
Fresh fruit, fresh seafood?
Fresh fruit.
Favorite Hawaiian word?
I'm like, aloha, mahalo, I komo mai. Those are the ones I use most frequently. So,
favorite food?
In Hawaii?
Anywhere. Favorite food for you?
Really good sushi.
Favorite place in the world?
Kyoto.
Chef Lee Anne Wong, we didn't even get to your Japan, which is incredible. We talked about so much. Maybe this means we get to come back again because you do have Koko Head also in Japan.
We opened Tokyo last year. We are opening in Osaka in September.
Congratulations for everything and just for your love and commitment to community and just your fierce advocacy for the hospitality industry and just the passion to have people come to Hawaii and to Maui.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Travelers, make sure you go to gohawaiʻi.com. Maui and Hawaii are waiting for you. All right, we'll see you all on the open road very soon. Peace. Welcome to the Travel with Meaning podcast, the show that talks with artists, entertainers, entrepreneurs, chefs, CEOs, athletes, and travel industry experts to hear the travel stories that have impacted their lives and careers. We visit destinations to talk with the locals and bring the Travel with Meaning community with us to share our experiences with all of you. I'm your host, Mike Scheibel. Join us on this epic adventure.